says.
Dude.
Kitty cat tail. Perfect.
Okay, we should be live, or it says we're live. I hope we're live.
Yeah, we're live. I see us.
Yay!
Yay!
Yeah, okay. I checked to make sure that we were live. How's everybody doing?
I'm doing great. How's everybody? Hi, Cynthia.
I feel like I should explain why I look a little crazy. Okay, I think I got a dog hair or something in this eye, which is why it's like closed. And I'm gonna keep doing this because it won't stop crying. Okay, we're trying our best. I managed to throw makeup back on it because I cried all of it off, but we're trying.
That's how I've been lately with my allergies. I can't even put makeup on because my eyes are just watering.
Right, you just cry it all off. Yeah.
I know. I'm so sorry.
We got Cynthia and Captain Terp and Yogi Pretzel already talking in the chat.
Hi, guys.
Yay.
Glad y'all are here.
Friends.
Sorry, my cat is.
They see this like tail just like it's so funny.
He's like, you know what? Good luck.
Library Squad, I love it. Very nice.
Hey, Verge.
I dig it. I dig it.
Verge. Erica, hello.
You were saying.
Well, hello. Tigger, you
Thanks,
can't.
Storm.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, Skippy.
Well, should we dive right in?
Yeah.
Sure. Sorry, my cat is
thought-
like.
This is our first one in June, and it's Pride Month, so we thought we would start with talking about Pride.
Sounds
Yeah.
What
appropriate.
does Pride mean to you ladies? Like, is it special to you? Do you have any conflicting thoughts about it? What are your thoughts?
No, I love Pride because there's a lot of people in my life that I love who, identify some way or another, or along the spectrum there, and I love that they're, I just love that they can have because it used to not be,
Okay.
okay, and so I'm happy that people can be who they are.
My daughter is really into Pride. Like she's been into Pride for several years. But she's like since a really, really young, I mean, she's really young to begin with, but like she's going to be a social justice warrior because like ever since she was in elementary school, she was very sensitive to people who are marginalized. So she's always loved Pride to like be an ally. So I don't really have any. I don't have any feeling. Like I don't have any bad feelings on it.
Yeah,
It's just go Pride. Like, but I'm not like all gung ho like she is. But I'm glad people can feel like they can really be themselves, and just acknowledge, people as they are. And I don't understand why people get all crazy.
I don't either.
Yeah. I think one of the coolest things about where we are in 2024 is that
Sorry, guys.
our kids are growing up and it's so, it just feels natural, like everyone is, feels the gender they are and identifies how they are and they love how they love and everything's fine with that. And I think that one of the tragedies of the prior generations and the prior decades is that, the people that didn't, match the, straight, hetero, whatever paradigm were marginalized, pushed away, disregarded, pushed to the fringes. And we missed out on these beautiful souls that, what if we had always embraced them? Where would we be as a society? Where would we be as a country, as a world, our climate, everything?
Y'all see Brokeback Mountain?
Yeah.
It's been a while. It's been a while.
Well, like when I saw it, first of all, I went to college in a podunk town, And this is like before, like, smartphones.
Oh
So
yeah.
I really didn't. So I went home to, New York City area, and my friend and I from college, we wanted to go see a movie. We didn't know what was out. So we're like, okay, let's just go see what's out. And everything that was out was like in the theater was either PG or like a kids movie. And we really didn't want to see those. And the only 2 rated R movies was Brokeback Mountain and The Birdcage. And we didn't want to see The Birdcage. So we're like, okay, Brokeback Mountain. We had no idea what it was about. And I was just like, oh, gay cowboys. Okay. So, and at the time I didn't really, this didn't, it was an all right movie. It was kind of slow moving, like, so I didn't
The
like it.
Birdcage is really good too.
Yeah.
I love the Birdcage.
But anyway, the reason why I'm talking about this is because what Vic said is like, you had these 2 gay cowboys who are, because of where they live and the time they're living in, like they can't be who they are. So they sneak around and lie to their wives and cheat on them, essentially. And their wives know something's up. And then finally, one of their wives, like, I hope I'm not ruining the movie for anybody, but spoiler alert, if you ever want to see Brokeback Mountain, put earmuffs on. But, and it's the tragic, what was so tragic is that they could have been together.
Yeah. They could have
And
been
the outcome would have been the same.
Yeah, their wives could have, gone on and, if they wanted to, found, different partners or something. And instead, it's the tragedy of wasted time and not having the true connection and being true to yourself and,
And kids being hurt and
yeah.
lies being told. And because even if their wives weren't even really that mad about like the affair, the lying,
it's the breach
the
of trust. And
yeah. And like, if they had just been able to be true to themselves, if they had actually just, lived in the middle of nowhere and tried to at least hide it. And I mean, because like
a lot of people
what
did.
they were afraid of happened anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you might as well have just lived happy for a little bit instead of ruining a lot of people's lives. Like, and not that their lives were necessarily ruined because of, being gay. It's like, I'm sure kids were lied to. They don't understand and they're still living in a time that it's not acceptable, So like, it's really just like a whole other it's not even about the issue of being gay. It's just all the betrayal of lies and deceit and being angry because you can't be who you are. Because if you're forced to live a lie, I mean, like that has to be really exhausting and taxing, I'd imagine.
I have an aunt who is gay and she married a man, but they forget how long they were married. They never had kids or anything together. But she was finally, she just said, I mean, she loved him, but she was like, I don't, she didn't want to lie to him. She wanted to be who she was, and she didn't think it was fair. And so they, and I know her, but they were each other were able to go live their lives, and they still loved each other, but they were able to live their lives, in the end.
Yeah, almost all of the older gay people I know first married into a heterosexual relationship, probably had kids, and then eventually came out. And the trauma for them of doing all of that. I mean, one friend of mine, her biggest concern, her husband was very understanding, was a good friend and everything, but she worried about her kids and how they would take it, and then what kind of abuse they would take from their peers. And they did get crap from their peers. And I mean, that sucks. Like, all they wanted was their mom to be happy, and that's so important,
Yeah.
So I wanted to share a story that I thought about when I was in the shower, and I don't know why this popped into my head, but like I ever since the whole bathroom law thing like started, like even years ago before MAGA, I never understood why people were so like upset about like trans people using the wrong bathroom, because like people have been doing it for decades. I'm sure maybe even centuries. People have maybe not were able to have the surgery, but like
Oh, yeah.
And so then I thought about my college days, and in my college days, I pledged a sorority. And in my pledge class, there were two, at the time they were girls, but they were going to transition and, make the transition. And they had already kind of started with just superficial stuff. And so it wasn't a big deal. I mean, like, I didn't really think anything of it when we were pledging. And then when we got in and, we were in, doing sorority like things, like I was, a bunch of us lived with him in the sorority house, but nobody ever felt weird or threatened or, because by that point she was doing more invasive surgeries, like having surgeries and taking hormones. So he looked like a he at that point, and it wasn't weird. It just was what it was. And mind you, I was in college like well over 20 years ago. This is like 2000-ish, like the 2000s.
Mhm.
And like I remember one in particular, like we had a final T, which I don't know if I told you guys this, but in the audience, like if you're not up with sorority life, it was just like basically an evening where you're on our short list, and if you come to this, then we're, as a sorority, we're on your short list. So it's kind of like we like each other. So and in the 40s, 50s, it actually was
A tea.
a tea. But anyway, but it was a fancy formal event. And one semester, I was the pledge mistress. So I'm organizing all this crap. And he comes up to me. And at this point, he's not having surgeries yet, but it's clear, like, he's not wanting to wear a dress at this point.
Oh.
Really at any point. But at this point, it's like, so he comes up to me and is like, all right, what do you want me to wear? Because it's a formal event. So I thought he was like upset that I was going to make him wear a shirt and tie. And I was like, well, nice slacks, shirt and tie. Is that too much? And he was thinking I was going to make him wear a dress.
Oh.
So I was just like, oh, no. I thought you were going to be mad at me. I was making you like wear a shirt and tie.
Hey,
And he's
Tony.
like, no. So like, anyway, so I brought that story up
because
because like
guest in the chat.
We do.
oh,
Tony.
hello, Tony.
Tony himself.
So like it just it like where Yogi Pretzel, they've always existed. Like just a lot of people didn't notice or like, and the thought
Really,
of
they didn't
like
care. Like ancient Rome, everybody was fucking everybody. In Viking time, everybody was fucking everybody. It was not a big deal. We've made it a big deal.
Yeah.
Even many Native American communities have two spirits that they honor. They recognize them as holy and connected to the spirit. Like it's wonderful.
I was gonna say, yeah, religious white people came in and made it, something other than just a normal human condition that
Spartans
happens.
I remember Ted Cruz going on and on about how the Spartans were such fierce warriors. I'm like, ooh, somebody didn't study ancient Rome or ancient. They were Greek, right? Somebody didn't study the ancient Greeks too well.
So my relationship with pride has always been complicated. I came out when I was in college, and I'll tell you my coming out story in a minute because it's hilarious. But I always felt that my sexuality was, I hoped, the least interesting thing about me. And so it wasn't something I talked about a lot. I felt it was private and between me and my partner. And I just, there's not room in this relationship for more people kind of thing. And so I didn't go to pride events with my partners for the most part. But then when the bathroom bill came out, it really, and all the crap with the trans stuff, it really hit me that I have, to me, an obligation to be there for the younger people as a senior gay. And, I'll take the shit, I can handle it, but to celebrate them and to let them know that there is a safe place for them. And so since then, I've gotten very involved in pride, even though ironically I'm now with a guy. it's okay. But for me, and this came out, so in our county, we did a collaboration with our Regional Arts Council, and we wanted to do something for National Coming Out Day. And what we do is we usually do a film and then there's like a panel discussion about social topics. And we wanted to do it for National Coming Out Day. And we could not find any film on the LGBTQ experience that was based in rural communities. They're all, London or DC or New York or, Los Angeles or something, which is great. But we knew that for our audience, there'd be a lot of people be like, well, that's a big city thing. And so we were really looking for rural stories. And we finally decided to make our own film because a lot of us were gay or had gay friends. And we made our own film. It's 12 stories, 10 stories, I can't remember. People from our county or who live in our county telling their stories. And we were very concerned about the backlash, but we very quickly agreed that as adults, we had a responsibility to the young people in the rural communities to know that there are people out there that you can survive, and there are people that love you.
Wonderful.
And we have formed this amazing group since then. This is our second year planning Pride in our county, and we're in a very red rural county. And like our Pride proclamation for the county is tomorrow. We have a color run on Saturday. There's a an LGBTQ film fest going on. And honestly, for me, if there's just one kid in our area that decides not to hurt themselves, not to hate themselves, to feel that they're supported, I'll take all the trash talk, and I'll gladly take it because, what is that? Be the adult you needed when you were younger. I try to take that to heart and try to do that for them. So my coming out story is funny, particularly if you know me. So I did not come out. I didn't tell my parents. I was in college in North Carolina, and my girlfriend and I'd been together for about 5 months, maybe 6 months. And I was back home in Texas for my niece's high school graduation, and she went to school in Dallas. And my baby brother, who knows better, made this comment about it's such a shame that everyone on the softball team is a lesbian because they're gorgeous. And I don't usually speak up until I'm pissed off, and then you're gonna get Glorious. I think of her name. I'm gonna go sugar breaker on you. I'm gonna tell you off. And I did, and I was like, oh, but it's not a shame that me and my partner are because we're ugly, right? And like it just comes out of my mouth. My dad is driving, my mother's in the passenger seat, my brother and my niece are in this vehicle with us, and the silence, because I am
It's palpable.
and no one says a thing. We get to my sister's house, the van door opens. Before I make it all the way into the garage, the whole fucking family knows. I don't know how, magically. But it's just such a classic that for me to come out took me being pissed off about him, going after someone else. And after that, he and I got really close. When they took me back to college, we had a long conversation about rights. Like my partner had health issues, and I was explaining to my brother, do you realize that this person that, I care about and that I'm in a relationship with, if they have a health crisis, their parents can keep me from seeing them. And later when we're older, they can keep them from, me helping them make the medical decisions they want and so forth. And like, he's totally an ally now. But at the time, I think sometimes you have to know someone and love somebody in the community for you to realize that it's not all the media is telling you it is.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people, like most people, if they get out of their silo and they meet people from all over, like it's really hard to hate somebody for being gay, being black, white, because usually the hate isn't really hate. It's, it's learned junk. And then once you start meeting people and like, hey, they're not so bad. Why, I feel like, it's not what the media says, or it's not what your pastor says. There's no one lurking in the bathroom looking to make me gay or trans or anything like my sorority. We called him our sorority brister, and he was fine with that. But like, he wasn't lurking, somewhere to, you know what I mean? Like, the absurdity of things, is.
We know a lot of this anger though is a mask for confusion and fear and lack of the unknown. And I guarantee you, everyone knows someone that falls somewhere in the LGBTQIA spectrum. But ask yourself why they've never come out to you. Have you made yourself approachable and an ally so they feel they could talk to you? That might be why you don't know that.
Right.
Or it's self-hatred. Like,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times I feel like, this is just my anecdotal observation. I have no idea if this is true. And a lot of you probably feel like this too. Like, I feel like if somebody is like dead set against somebody who's gay or trans or is a complete racist or is complete anti-Semite, all of a sudden you see them on Grindr, or they have, a Jewish lover, or like, or, they are Jewish, or, and especially men who are really anti-LGBTQ, that like, a lot of times I'll say, I knew that Dugar fellow from, who's in prison now.
Duggar.
I was like, that guy,
that
creep. He's a predator. And I bet you he has a Grindr app, or, I didn't know about Ashley Madison. I think he got busted on Ashley Madison. I didn't know about that app because clearly I'm not on it. So,
and he also had
like,
tons of kitty porn too.
Yeah, that's what he, but before I even knew anything really about, he was going on, I don't know how I caught this. I was like waiting for like hoarders to start. I have an unhealthy habit with hoarders. That's another show, but
it's a good show. I'm there with you.
It was like the end of the Dugars, and then I was waiting for hoarders to start. And he was saying something about like loving Christ and all that stuff. And that's fine. But like, I was like, that guy is a creep. Like that guy, you cannot, like, there's just something insincere. And like, he was talking, it's not like he was saying anti-gay things because it was TLC or whatever fuck channel that was. But like, I just knew it. And it's always those people that like, try to be perfect, who are like, I'm perfect and follow my way of life, that end up like,
well, and I think there's a lot of people that struggle with the idea of things that don't fit neatly into boxes. And we've talked about this in terms of gender, but it's also true of sexuality. Very few people are 100% heterosexual or 100% homosexual. There's usually some flexibility in the middle. And there's a whole bunch of different, that's why there's so many letters in the alphabet, as we put it, because there's so many different ways that people choose to identify or choose not to identify. I personally hate labels, and so I really struggled to accept any label. But if I had to go with one now, it would be sapiosexual, which just means that I'm attracted to people's personalities and their minds, and that makes me find them physically attractive, because otherwise, let's be real, genitalia is disgusting.
Right? Oh my God.
Fair enough.
Flappy little flesh bits. Oh,
You're absolutely right about personalities. Like, there could be somebody who's like gorgeous, like society's definition of what gorgeous, but if they have a crappy personality, they can instantly look so much shittier.
Like,
and then you can have somebody who's just like,
perhaps.
Yeah, she's gorgeous, but like she opens her mouth and like she becomes like such an ugly human being. And then like you have people who are just, maybe not even ugly, but like, just average Joe, and they open their mouths and it's like, wow.
My dad always said
really
pretty
cute.
is pretty does. That my dad always said that. Pretty
right. Well, we
is
have to
pretty
realize that, beauty fades, or you could have something happen and it could disfigure you in some way. But the one thing that remains is your personality and who you are inside. And man, there's nothing sexier to me than someone genuinely being themselves and being passionate about what they love. And I mean, that's just an attractive quality.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everybody's instantly better looking when they're talking about something they love. No super hot hoarders, B Bridges. Do not want a hoarder at all. No
Haven't seen a super hot hoarder, and I think I've seen all those episodes.
I've seen a gorgeous one. Like, you would never guess. She was like beautiful and like, makeup just done right. So slender, like wearing like the perfectly fitted suits. And that chick is nasty. Nasty.
I the things that the weird people, they would eat weird shit, like
Mhm.
tires and shit. You're like, what?
Oh yeah.
Why
I
are you
don't
eating
remember
this?
what it's called. Like when you eat
Pica.
like an at.
PICA, pica or pica.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, to eat when you
TLC bringing us all the mental
you're-
health issues.
driven to eat things that are not edible, like
Tire tread. She was eating tire tread for real. I'm not even lying. I was
yeah, like there are people that like eat cotton or like pencils,
Drywall.
drywall,
all
weird
kinds
shit.
of things. All of, I'm like,
Funny enough,
I think-
sometimes that can happen in pregnancy.
I had a friend that
Yeah, I was just
she was
thinking that too. I
pregnant,
thought
she
so.
wanted dirt. She craved
Yeah.
dirt. So she would go to a special place to make sure she got clean dirt that she could eat.
Oh Lord.
I was like, is that a real thing? It is.
Tony's amused with you saying "eat tires" in Texan.
She did
Its
eat
own
tires.
language, Tony.
Yeah, you're gonna eat some tires.
So many tires.
Texan is a language.
It is. I'm
Kids,
sorry, I do.
yeah.
I have my own language.
So
My
the
dog
other
eats.
thing we wanted to talk.
Sorry.
I'm
Bill-
sorry. I read a comment and
Well,
like
Was it me?
Amy said that I had a cat with pica. My dog eats textiles for some reason, and then in the
Oh.
backyard when I'm on poop
Bigger
patrol,
likes
you
to
see,
eat
like
cigarette wrappers.
turd like
Oh no.
washcloths and biscuit.
So we did want to make sure that we included some resources for anyone who is an ally or may have someone in their life or who themselves may need some resources. I highly recommend the Trevor Project. They do a ton of fundraisers, but they also have like a 24/7 volunteer line you can call for support, which is amazing. And then Free Mom Hugs, which is, you see them at all the Pride events, and it's women who are there in support of all the
Fine.
people who have been left behind by their families and they always say, I'm your mom now. I
Yeah.
really love that. I think that's amazing. And
Is
then,
that
of course,
the
there's
one
PFLAG and the
that
other
I was
associations
saying
like that.
about that woman who I mentioned at the TED Talk? Who is that? The same person?
I don't know if it's the same person. There's a couple of different people that do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hold on. Let me. I mean, talk amongst yourselves. I'm just.
Yeah,
gonna look
sorry.
it
A
up.
lot of people do
Sorry.
that. A lot of people do that informally too. Like, if you have like I know when we were
I'm like,
teenagers, we had some gay friends that, their families weren't too accepting of, and so they come get mom hugs and dad hugs from, our parents and our
Yep.
little friend group.
That's such a sad thing to me that a family that
I
raised you
know.
would say, I'm sorry, but you loving someone else is not okay. I'm so fortunate I did not have that experience with the majority of my family. And it breaks my heart for people that do go through that.
Me too. Because you know what? They're missing out. They're the ones missing out.
Yeah, Queen Royal makes a good point. She says, I couldn't do that to any of my 5 grown kids. I love them unconditionally. And I think that's the difference. I mean, if you have a child that is, not straight, not, the gender that you assumed they had their entire life, and you have an issue with it, maybe you need to look at your definition of what love is. You've raised this
Exactly.
beautiful little soul, from, whatever age they entered your life. And to be so judgmental or so off-put by something as simple and sweet and human as, I love this person over here. It boggles
One of my
my
favorite
mind.
things on Facebook are when I see the reels where someone comes out and they're really nervous about it and their family is just like, oh yeah, I know. It's okay, baby, I love you, and it's just like, one of them was, he told his grandmother at a Chinese restaurant, and she's like, I know. And he started bawling, and she was like, we don't cry at the Chinese restaurant, what are you doing? And I'm like, that's prime grandma right there.
Really quick,
I
I
always
put the
tried
link.
because
Oh, I'm sorry. I put the link
link
to
to the
that
TED
TED Talk that I was talking about uh, to people who I haven't said that this to. The TED Talk link I put in the chat. It's just a woman who started, I guess, an organization of sorts when she's an evangelical and her daughter came out as gay, and the church was not going to allow her to attend the church and with her gay daughter. So she had to choose, and she chose her daughter. And so then she realized through her daughter that there's so many people who part of the community who their family just completely abandons them. So they go to things like graduations, weddings, just things that you should have a cheerleader for, but they don't. So she started cheerleading for her friends, and then she met somebody who needed a cheerleader, so she went to their wedding, and so it just started growing into this huge thing. And now she runs an organization where people be each other's cheerleader or be a cheerleader to somebody in the LGBT community who has something special that their family abandoned them, and they need a cheerleader. That woman, I think she said she walked somebody down the aisle because they had nobody for a lesbian wedding or something like that. So it's a really touching story. And so I just put the link in.
I always remind people that there's the family that you're born into, and then there's the family you choose. And the family I have chosen, I chose them because of their vibe and their support and who they are. It wasn't just an accident of genetics. And I love my family by blood. Don't get me wrong. There's several of them that I would include in my family of choice. But my family of choice is like that dream team that you would have wished you'd been born into, that's always got your back and you love to be around and everything else. I made a point because I was working, well, once I did come out, I was careful with it because I was working professionally, and so I would never mention it, but if it came up, I wouldn't deny it because I ain't lying about shit. And I only had one time that someone treated me differently afterward, and it took me a little bit to realize, but I finally was like, you know what, I'm the same person I was before you knew. The only thing that changed is you now know what I do in the bedroom, or you suspect you know. So that's on you. Nothing about me changed. You liked me fine before you knew that.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just gotta be like, this is a you problem.
Sometimes it takes families a little bit of time to because when I knew my cousin was gay long before he probably even knew he was gay, because you have to remember, I was in the performing arts for 15, 20 years, most of my childhood into my adulthood. So my gaydar is on point. So he's in high school, and I said to my sister, he's gay. And she's like, nah. I'm like, oh yeah, he'll come out eventually. And so he comes out, and I'm just like, oh, well, I'm here if you need somebody. I was like, honestly, I already knew. And he's like, how'd you know? I'm like, come on. I was I've been in the performing arts. He's like, oh, fair enough. And so but but when he coming out officially, his parents, they went to family counseling over it because he didn't know how to deal. But his father, I call him uncle, but he's not related to me by blood. They just had a hard time dealing with it. Not necessarily it's wrong, you're going to burn it. It just, there's probably underlying issues there too. Yeah. But it really helped them work through because my uncle's aunts were openly gay, and I would go to family larger. I would only see them in larger family get-togethers because they're not my aunts, they're his aunts, and that side isn't really technically my family. Right. But they would be there, and when I was a kid, I thought they were just friends, but then I was like, oh, I get it. they're partners. So but so it's not like they it wasn't in the family already. Right. I think that's at least they had enough sense to go to family counseling to work through whatever it was. so they're not like hurting each other, you know, and it's not just building up till there's years of resentment, and you know, so and it really helped them, and now everything's great, and he's gay, and you know, they're fine, and everything's great.
That's so funny. My best friend in high school, we met in our freshman year science class, and then we were riding the same bus. And as soon as I saw him, do you ever just you see someone and you just instantly know like this person is going to be my friend forever? Like you don't even
Yeah.
speak to each other, just something about him. And he was one of those. Like I took one look at him and I'm like, this guy's struggling, but he's a sweetheart, and I can be his friend. And I wasn't friends with much of anybody, you know. And we became really close friends. I knew he was gay, but he didn't tell me he was. And when he did come out, I mean, I'd hinted that, you know, I'm really open. I didn't, you know, I'm gonna let him do it on his time, whatever. And then, of course, my family was convinced we were dating, which I should be so lucky. But when he did finally come out, we're in the middle of BFE, and we're at his house, and we're walking around one night talking, and he's like, I've got something to tell you, and you know, you're going to be shocked, and I'm afraid you're never going to think of me the same again. And I'm like, okay, well, it can't be that then, because you know, I'm fine with that. And I was like, I think I know what it is, you know, and it's fine, dude. And he's like, no, it's so much worse. And I'm like, oh my God, are there like dead bodies in the woods or something? Like, like at this point, I'm like, what? And when he finally told me, I was like, oh, I know. And he was just like, what? What do you mean you know? And I'm like, yeah, I've known for a long time. No, it's fine. And I think I hurt feelings a little that I knew, but yeah.
The fucking fam is our found fam, really. I'll attest to that. So.
Yeah. You know what? Like, when I started like talking to Derek more through like Producer's Corner and like through, you know, things like meetings, not really meetings, but like talking with Tony, like, and he was mentioning his partner, who's also a librarian. I was like, I'm going to be friends with her. Like, and I didn't even know you yet, but I was like, well, if Derek's dating her, then she must be cool. So, and she's a librarian. So most of the time librarians are really cool. So it's like,
librarians are
we're fast
cool,
friends.
And Derek has excellent taste.
Yeah. So I thought it was gonna, and I was like, I want to be her friend. Like,
well, I feel better because I feel better because I didn't want to be stalking you, but at the same time, you know, I was kind of like,
yeah, no,
Aww.
and I didn't want to be that guy either. Like, you know, all like, because I'm socially awkward, which can come off as creepy sometimes. So,
same. That
anyway.
honestly would have endeared me to you, so it's all good.
Yeah, well, now I know that, but at the
People think
time,
I have a problem. Like the people when I was growing up used to call me spastic and shit all the time, but I'm like, you know,
I wish I could
The
embrace
only-
my
that's the only
awkward.
just hyper. I can't help it.
So I did have one other story before we go to the next topic. I was married for 4 years to a woman, and we met online as one relationship was ending, and then we became friends, and then we got together. And I was clear from day one, you know, like I am so fucking liberal, and the hate talk is absolutely not cool with me of any kind, and da 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 da. And I think it was right before we got married or right after, like really close to it. She made a comment. Keep in mind, she is the butchest butch that ever butched. Really short, shaved hair, you know, larger farm girl, loves guy stuff, you know, ATVs, the whole bit, whatever. Is always getting called a dude by mistake, whatever. Has a kind of male sounding name to begin with. We were going to celebrate a job I'd gotten, and as we were leaving, there was a gentleman walking by, and she's like, oh my God, I hate flamers. It's so disgusting. I was like, in what world did you think that I was not going to be angry as hell about this? And she's like, well, it's just so obvious. And I'm like, have you seen yourself? Like, he looks the way he looks. What is your fucking problem? Are you kidding me? Should have known this relationship was not going to last. But like, you know, the internalized homophobia there is insane.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem right, does it? Like
No. Well, and particularly since I'd made it very clear, you know, from when we were just friends that, you know, this is who I am and I'm not cool with that. Why did you think it was okay to say that in front of me? Why? Not cool. Like, respect me enough not to say that shit. And please don't say it to them. Like, that's just not cool.
Yeah.
Oh God. Like, who would actually do that?
Look, I
Yeah.
swear to God, I mean, I can fight with my sibling, but if somebody else, like, my brother's like, I mean, he's a whole person bigger than me, but I swear to God, I'd go to war if somebody said something,
Yeah.
about
Yeah,
my
my
brother.
brother's my punching bag. You don't get to
Yeah,
punch
I
him.
mean,
Fine.
like, no, no, we're gonna fight. Like, we're gonna fight,
Oh, hell yeah.
Fight.
I mean, because I'm like, I'm like, "Brr, you better not like hurt my brother, like, oh, of course, even though he's like way bigger than me, but still, I'm like, don't make me get all ninja and shit on it, okay? So, and I've always like that though. Even when we were little, I was like, no, mm-mm.
See, they forget that us little sisters who are actually older but are tinier than our baby brothers, oh, we will mama bear someone to death.
Oh,
Mhm.
absolutely, yeah.
Do not. Yeah.
I was
mean, I
like
did-
that with my
I mean,
sister.
I chased him down the street a couple of times though, because I
He
just
deserved
cleaned
it.
the house, and he brings all his
I told you he
friends in,
deserved it.
and it's gonna be my ass. I can't tell you how many times I had to chase him down the street.
I'm pretty sure we have
Literally.
the same little brother who's actually bigger than us. It sounds like.
My sister has always been taller than me, like because I'm 6 years older than her. So
Mhm.
but since she was like 11, she's been taller than me. So she's like 5'10", legs up to her armpits and stuff.
Jeez.
And but what's so a lot of people think she's the older one, but I have the baby face. So a lot of times but anyway, I get like that mama bear with her, like even though she may look older, but like we'll throw
I'm like,
down.
but he was my older brother when he was alive. I was like that. I mean, he was 7 years older than me, but I'm like, don't be talking about my brother like, like.
Yeah. I might have just gotten through slapping the taste out of his mouth.
Yeah.
But you don't get to talk to
We
him
used to
like
give each
that.
other such hard times, but I'm like, like, so.
There's a side conversation happening in the chat about gender roles in LGBTQ couples. And as someone who's been in a few of those relationships, I'll tell you that it varies by couple, but most, they're there because they don't want gender roles. It's not as strict, this is, I'm the dude and you're the chick. It's, you're both looking to avoid that. That's usually a big part of it. You just love each other for who you are. But yeah, I've had people ask, are you the dude or are you the chick? And it's like, neither.
No, and I think the way we're talking about, we mean more like how society perceives them, not necessarily like how they're perceiving each other.
Right. But I mean, even like, yeah, in any way though, just like the reason I was with a woman was because I like women, not because one of us was supposed to play traditional roles. Like we weren't interested in traditional roles. That wasn't the idea. It just so happened that my partners kept getting butchier. That was just an accident.
Happens. It doesn't matter if your relationship with whoever is, you still have relationship issues. Doesn't matter what the relationship, you still have relationship problems,
Yeah, there's a really hilarious joke that says, who wears the pants in your family? And the response is, it works better when neither of us wears pants. And I'm like, yep.
I like it.
It's funny.
I like it.
It's funny.
Very true.
That's the kind of subversion we like. So I mentioned very briefly Stand in Pride. There's several other really great organizations out there. And then there's been something huge happening in the United Methodist Church and in several other churches, but the most notable one in recent ones, United Methodist Church. My understanding is there's been a division within the larger church and they've broken into basically two groups, but the latest vote was for them to recognize LGBT to be welcoming. We're just going with that. To be welcoming.
Nailed it.
And I know last year at our proclamation, we actually had a ton of religious support. One of our big organizers is I can't remember, it's a variation on Catholic and I can't remember what it's called, but he's a priest, and he's married. And and out and contributed to the story. And then we also had an out lesbian who's from the Universalist Church, and there was one other one, and one of them came up during the proclamation and asked for the microphone, and they had a statement issued by the church saying that they wanted to formally apologize for how much they had let down the LGBTQ community by not being welcoming, and that they hoped that we would give them a chance to make up for the things they did. We did not solicit that. It came, completely by surprise, but it was so powerful because everyone I know who came from religious background, when they eventually came out, they had so much trauma from their religious upbringing. And that's so sad to me. I mean, I didn't grow up religious.
It's the guilt.
But
it's the guilt.
It's a
the guilt.
lot
and
of
also
things.
those that were victims of violence in various means through the church or sanctioned by the church, but then add on to it the you're going to hell and you now have no redemptive quality. Like, holy shit.
Yeah, we plan on doing like a show about women and the church and like religion in general, because that's a big like thing for me, is women staying because of what the Bible says, and that's not true. And and I'm actually really thrilled about the Methodists
Me too.
formalizing, because like I really enjoyed fellowship with people, like when we would do things like that were truly Christ-like. Like, I used to feed the homeless like every Saturday morning, and like we do like genuinely good things. It's small things, but it was something just to make a difference. And like my faith really saved me in some really dark times. And so when I had to leave the church, I was so bitter and angry, because I was like, I hate hypocrisy. I mean, nobody likes hypocrisy.
I'm the same way.
Like, I was just I felt betrayed almost. Like,
and you're heartbroken. You're heartbroken.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're heartbroken. And
Yeah, my heart was kind of broken, and I'm just like,
because this is not like you're heartbroken because they're wanting you to hate people or they're not accepted, and I can't do that. I'm like, I'm sorry. I love Jesus, but sorry. No. Like,
I refuse to believe that's.
I refuse to
That's
believe that. No, I'm not. You can't, because I'm sorry. My heart is
treating immigrants terribly. Like, we used to bring Thanksgiving dinner to, I mean, this should be for our show, but really quick, like this one really sent me over, is what put me to the edge, and later would send me over. But like, we used to bring Thanksgiving dinner to our sister church, which was in a Hispanic church in the in one of the immigrant communities here. And the pastor was like, now their documentation might be questionable, but we're not here to, we're here to spread the word of God and give some families some Thanksgiving dinner. And it was a wonderful experience. And then Trump comes and we don't do that anymore. And like,
the words in the Bible didn't change. So what the fuck?
Yeah. And I mean, Jesus was an immigrant. He had to flee to Egypt when, they were starting to kill babies under 2,
I mean, and Jesus, it was all about love with Jesus, right? Love and forgiveness and
humility and
helping people. It was all the good things. Love thy neighbor.
And I think, what's interesting is the golden rule is universal to almost every religion. So my bachelor's degree is in world religion, and because I never particularly felt religious, and I was like, grew up in the South, and I was very curious about why I wanted that. I wanted that fellowship and that sense of inspiration and whatever. So I studied it, trying to understand it. And what I found interesting is they almost all have in common, the details change, but the common rule is love one another. And like
love. Yeah.
So, I mean, we're so much more alike than we're different. And I think that that's not just in the religious sense, but also in just the people sense. And we forget that more often. We demonize anything that makes someone different without recognizing all the things that makes us similar and rejoicing in the diversity of expression. Life would be boring as shit if everybody was exactly the same.
Yeah.
You know,
And
I
like
remember,
people, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I just remember growing up and my mother telling me, you know what, dude? She said, dude, I mean, before I could really understand a lot of things, she goes, you know what? It takes a lot of kinds of different people to make this world go around. And I mean, and she's right. She was right. And does. But at that small age, I mean, I wasn't thinking, but that's good advice for somebody when you're not yet. No, but the world is a big place and it takes all kinds of people for this world to revolve and, you know, it does.
Well, and my sister and I were really into metal when we were growing up. It was the 80s, you know, hair bands and then metal.
Oh, yeah.
And we decided
oh, I thought you meant like metal, like the substance.
music, baby.
So
music.
stupid.
Atta girl.
So
So stupid.
I'm still into it, by the way, but just not quite to the same level because I got old. But we lived in the South and we moved a lot. And every time you move in the South, the first thing people ask you is who are your people and where's your church, which is your church. And the answer was always you don't. Yeah. And their answer was always, you don't know them, I assure you, and we don't have one. And so we would get invited all the time. And my sister and I would occasionally go, and we had the worst fucking luck ever because every sermon we attended that I recall was like a personal attack. Like, I remember one that her and I literally left crying because they were talking about metal music being the devil's music and about teens being inherently sinful. And we're sitting here both early teens loving metal music, and we're like, thank you for welcoming me into your church, and then immediately telling me I was going to hell. I'll be leaving now. You know,
and then they wonder why teens never like keep going to church.
It's why so many people. It's part of why so many people are abandoning the church. And like from my perspective, sometimes I give people a little too much credit, but like the idea of religion isn't terrible. It's what humans do to it. It's because humans, a certain percentage of humans just are full of pride and greed and badness, and they will use whatever means to, you know, subvert shit. And we definitely see that in the Christian church, that they interpret it the way that serves their current anger and their current profit margin.
And circling back to like, you know, the LGBTQ issues, like whether it's you think it's weird or religion or whatever, there's one thing you can do if you don't like gay people. Mind your own fucking business. Yeah. Shut your mouth. Nobody needs to hear your opinion. Walk away. Go tell somebody else. You don't need to ruin somebody's afternoon telling them that, you know, it's gross or whatever, however you feel. Nobody needs to know your feelings. Just because you have thoughts doesn't mean you need to say those thoughts every single time they enter your head.
Yeah.
So I really wish, and I hope somebody in MAGA challenges me on this. Mind your own goddamn business. You don't have to be gay. You like, if you know what, if your kid's gay, like the more you hate something, God is gonna throw it in your face.
Heck
so
yeah.
like you don't want to have a gay son? Well, you better stop hate, like, because I promise you he's going to give you one. So one of your kids is going to be, Matt Walsh is going to have a gay kid. I promise you.
I always joke that when people say, I would never do that, I was like, the universe is about to deliver you a big O. Are you sure about that?
Exactly.
Because every time I've said, I would never do this, the universe has said, like, but what about this?
Right.
Y'all, it literally smells like somebody's burning down my house right now. And that's why I was like, I put it on mute a while ago and I called my son. I'm like, why does it smell like my house is burning down?
Do you need to go check on it or?
No, he said it's the toaster. And I'm like, well, did you burn the house down? Because it smells like, smell it all the way back here. It's awful. I'm like, golly, burn my house down while I'm out here. I'm like, y'all okay?
Make it
You know?
face.
Is everything okay?
So
So do we think
your
that's
house
gonna be
isn't
our
burning
next
down, right?
topic?
No, it just smells like it is, but it's not.
What's
I
that,
mean,
Leah?
I'm going, golly.
So are we planning on going more in depth on women in the church or women in religion, probably for our next show?
Absolutely, I think we should. I
Yeah.
have a lot of experience. I grew up Mormon. They're very talented at putting you in a cage and telling you to grow, but then you get to a point where you can't get out of the cage.
I
And
grew
I
up
was
Catholic.
able to get out.
I grew up Catholic, but the real sadists I met were down south when I was going to get my daughter baptized, and we'll go into that. Like I knew a totally different Catholicism than what they do here. Like,
Yeah,
so
Southern Baptist is a special breed. We will definitely talk about Westboro Church and all that bullshit.
Oh lordy. Okay.
Southern Baptist.
Just FYI, the only time I've been happy and actually cheered when someone died was when the leader of the Westboro Church died. That made me happy.
Yeah. It was a good day.
I wanted to pick at his funeral.
It's crazy.
Do we have any questions
So
from
do
the
we have
chat?
any- Dixon, you read my mind.
I'm sorry.
He's in
I
there.
didn't mean to step on you.
Hey, could you do some cleaning in there while you're in there?
Sure.
Because it's a hot mess.
Just get in there and pull stuff out.
I like to play in Derek's brain because sometimes we share a brain, but his
Oh, that's
is
fine.
not organized the way mine is.
Mm.
To be fair,
Nine
his has brain
Palace
damage.
needs some. Oh, happens.
My brain's not organized, period. It's just like,
Yes, Captain Terp. The other funeral we will all cheer will be the tea.
Yeah, we're gonna party for like a
Oh,
solid
yeah.
month. It's gonna be great.
come take in.
sorry guys, my daughter, she's 12 and she's very mature for her age, but I have like locks on certain things. So, just so
It does smell like burnt tires, Tony.
I'm trying to parent. So, but anyway, she's like, Mom, I need to get into Minecraft. What's the number? Because like
It's important.
it's like the double authenticator, and I'm just like, I can't talk. And she's like, I need the number. So sorry, I was trying to hook her up.
God, it does smell like burnt tires in my house, though, Tony. That's all. I'm like, what are y'all cooking? I mean, it literally smells like it's on fire, and I'm like,
Is somebody
oh,
burning
wait,
something
no.
like
I'm
outside?
surprised,
Or
I'm really surprised, like the freaking things ain't going off right now.
Oh, the smoke detector. You said he was making toast.
Yeah, I'm like, what did you do to it?
oh,
Like,
burnt toast can really do, especially if there's like seeds on the bread.
oh my
Like if those
God.
fall into like a coil of the toaster, it can really.
I'm like, dang.
I
I'm
wouldn't
like,
know
that's-
anything about that.
I'm gonna have to like, when I get done, I'm gonna have to like go and like make sure, clean out the toaster.
I do have a side thought. Sometimes I wonder if part of the church's issue with LGBTQ is that they are, in general, not going to produce children, and the big part of the church is
Making new tithe payers.
yes,
Yeah.
and a labor force and so forth. And I kind of wonder if the Republican backlash right now isn't partly tied to that.
Oh,
Partly
absolutely,
it's
it is.
just hate.
It's that. It's the
Yeah.
they're panicking because the birth rate of white babies is down, and that scares them.
Birth rate is down in general.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Well, guess
Yeah.
what? My daughter's not
But they
going to
still
do
won't
that. She's going to have a mixed baby.
Yeah, there are a lot of places where they still won't allow gay couples to adopt, and it's like, I would be any child that's in foster care
Yeah.
needs a home. And
Yeah.
if there's a loving home that has the means to support them and they want to, fucking let them.
Absolutely.
And
At
it's
one
weird,
point in
all
time, my
being
brother
raised
and
by
his
gay
husband
parents.
wanted kids, but they wouldn't let them adopt or.
And it sucks because, like if a straight couple can have a gay child, then a gay couple can have a straight child. And trust me, they do all the time.
Yeah.
There have been plenty of people raised in gay households that were not gay.
Yeah, my friend in high school, she had her mom and dad got a divorce. I don't know if it was, I never knew if it was because she was gay or if they just divorced and that, but anyway, she had a girlfriend and she likes dudes. She's married to one and, like it's not contagious. Being gay is not contagious.
Not contagious.
It is not.
Yeah.
So you're born like that, baby. You're born this way.
My
Nats
ex-husband
says that
oh, I'm sorry.
No, Natskirl was mentioning that banning IVF is also tied into this.
Oh yeah.
You know what? I bet you that's a secret reason why they want to ban it. And it's like surrogacy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I bet you surrogacy is going to be.
Oh yeah.
They're trying to discourage, homosexual couples. All the bunny quotes. Any way they can. The cruelty is the point, and they're going to be as cruel as they can because their other methods haven't worked, and that's all they have left is hate and cruelty.
They've already started here in Texas and Idaho. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad.
Well, and my big thing is about Pride is we're not trying to make young people gay. We're trying to make gay young people not think that they have to hide or hurt themselves or unalive themselves.
Yeah.
I just want your children to live and hopefully be happy. I remember being suicidal, and I remember the torture. My really good friend, he didn't come out while we were in school because we were in fucking BFE, Texas. And he probably
That's what I'm saying. It's the rural area kids and that don't have
the support. That community.
That community. They have to hide who they are until they either graduate and leave town.
Or they feel like they need to.
Yeah.
Well, and that's that's a place where the internet and Discord and other things can be so important because you can find that supportive found family. That's so important.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of love out there. There's a lot
sure
of people with open arms waiting for you. If
you need
you're
some
in
love,
that boat,
a hug, you can call me. I'll give you a hug because
Samesies.
I'm a hugger. So
I'm not, but I'll be there. I'm a good listener. I have a personal bubble. Like it's nothing personal to anybody.
I know some people don't like, but
I get weird if my own kid's like a little too like. She'll like get up all like. Of course, I hug her. But it's like I just like to have my space. So anyway, I'll be anybody's friend, listener. I just don't. I'm not a hugger.
No, you're right. Don't touch me.
I love you though.
I'll
send you the
D. Space, okay?
Right. Natskirl mentioned that that it seems like Pride has been rolled back a little bit this year, even progressive towns. It absolutely has. So we received an update. The Pride Committee that works in our county received an update from the FBI and from the state police that the expectation was that there'd be increased violence and picketing and so forth at Pride events this year, particularly in Pennsylvania. Lancaster in particular is having a rough time. And so a lot of groups are being careful. A lot of them are relying heavily on word of mouth, and a lot of them are toning down a bit. And then to my knowledge, there hasn't been any Pride violence at Pride yet in the country, but I haven't paid a lot of attention to the news. I'm sure it's inevitable. But you are correct. People are toning it down a little this year in anticipation of increased violence based on last year and the current MAGA sitch.
My daughter, just real quick. My daughter every summer goes to my parents in the New York City area, and she loves going to the Pride Festival in New York City. And I always get like, I never used to get like antsy about it. But now I'm just like, but she's just going to like, she gets there at the end of the month and it's just, she's just going for the parade the way her trip's falling. So like, I'm not worried about it, but at the same time, I can't, you can't, people are crazy these days. So
I know
they are. in Lancaster County, the library there, one of the libraries that's part of that library system had teamed up with a local group to do a drag story time. And there was some backlash, and so they moved it out of the library. It wasn't affiliated with the library to begin with. They were just letting them use the spot. But because of the backlash, they moved it to somewhere further down the road. And they and the performers received so much, I mean, death threats. There were bomb threats. The day it was supposed to happen, the bomb dogs alerted on 2 different packages. Turns out it was fine, but still. And like, I mean, that's terrifying. And unfortunately, what it says to the community members who are a part of that community, the part of the LGBT community in the Lancaster area, they've just been told that it's not okay for them to be openly out in their city. Like, that's what that says. And that's a really important thing. And I've mentioned this before, but like, Derek, I'm sorry. Derek has a cousin that I'm not fond of. And every time he talks to him, I get stressed out. But he was talking to me the other day. The conversation was going fine, better than usual. And then he's back in the States after being overseas for a while. And Derek asked him, you know, how is it different being back in the States? And he got a little anti-Semitic. And Derek was like, nah, you know, back off. And then he said, and gay people are everywhere. And then he started talking about it being a mental disorder.
Oh no.
And they don't deserve to exist. But God bless Derek, because I know he would have said this whether I could hear him or not, but he said, no, you don't talk like that to me. My partner is part of that community. We have cousins, like, fuck no. And he hung up on him.
Okay.
And when his cousin messaged him and was like, oh, come on, bro, whatever, he was like, no, I'm not talking to you. And I'm like, that's so important, not just for the person that it's done to, who sees that, no, I'm not putting up with your shit, but for anyone who can witness it. Because there's a reminder now that somebody's got your back and they're not going to put up with that shit. And that means so much.
Yeah. And also that attitude is unacceptable in
Yeah,
polite society.
Yeah, don't be
It's
saying
not
that
the way to be.
around me.
Yeah.
Well, and you never know who's watching or who's hearing. So, you know, if you have somebody in your life that may be struggling, you have no clue, and you hear someone say something in your vicinity, I just make it clear, no, that's not cool here. We're not doing that here. And I do that as much for my mental health, but also in recognition that there may be someone in my vicinity that can hear it, that needs to know that this is a safe place. This will always be a safe place for them.
Yeah.
And sometimes people need to hear it from their own peers versus somebody else telling them that.
Absolutely.
It hits home more. You know, kind of like where I always say, like, you know, with feminism, it's more powerful when a male tells another male, like, dude, that's not right, than when even like somebody, like a relative of the same person says it. I mean, it shouldn't be like that, but
It shouldn't. I mean,
you gotta live in the world that how it is, not the way it should be, you know. And like, until we get to that point, we need everybody to step up and do their part.
Being an ally to any community is being consistent with your peer group that, no, that won't be tolerated.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my ex, her family was very conservative and were very into politics, and of course that was not me. But when we were at their house, they can talk all they want. I'll keep my mouth shut. I might go outside and smoke a cigarette 20 times, but when they were in my house, oh hell no, you're in my house now.
That's
I
right.
pay the bills.
Your house, your rules.
Fair enough. That's completely fair enough.
Keep pushing me. I'll start talking politics, and
keep.
And then you can
shut up
learn
and enjoy a
some
delightful
things.
meal, or you can shut up and I can shut you down with a whole bunch of political shit too. You know.
Yeah.
You got to protect your space, man.
yeah, don't make me go there. You know. So
Well, also, like, I'm kind of a very, I don't know what you'd call it, but like negativity breeds negativity. So I just don't want to hear because I feel too much. So like somebody's negative energy, like I can absorb it.
Yeah.
Like, I feel icky. Not that I'm going to turn around and like, you know, hate somebody, you know, if somebody's talking, you know, hateful, but it's just like, I feel icky. I don't, you know, so, and like, I don't vibe like that, you know.
If someone's being negative to me, I might get a little sensitive about it, but for the most part, I'd be like, I've said worse to myself, whatever. But when they're talking to somebody else, oh, the mama bear comes out.
Oh,
might
I
have
can't
never
stand a
Yeah.
bully.
gotten pregnant or
I
given
cannot
birth, but my
stand a
mama bear
bully.
is strong. Yep.
You know, the only fight I ever got into in like my K-12 days was over somebody getting bullied, and I stood up to the bully and I paid dearly. But like,
But it was worth it.
Yeah.
I don't know how to not like. I just like.
It
It
flips a
just
switch.
seems so. I wonder where my daughter gets the social justice shit from.
I
Mom.
don't think we have to wonder long.
Yeah.
Captain Turk makes a good point that there's essentially zero difference between a childless straight couple and a gay couple. Both can be great parents if they choose to be. And that's absolutely true. And think of all the, like, Derek was raised by a single mother and a cadre of aunts. And that's part of why he's the rad dude he is. But he also had these uncles that played the father role for him. Like, it takes a village to raise children. It genuinely does. And let that village be whoever it is that has the resources and means to do it. And the want to do it, because they've got so much. Everyone has so much love to give.
Oh yeah. We sure do.
Sorry, I'm the only adult here, and I've got 3 teens trying to get in bed.
I know. I keep
Oh,
getting
I
bothered.
can hear
Everybody's
it.
coming in, and I'm like, y'all don't bother me all day. And then I have to do something, and everybody's coming in trying to burn my house down. What are y'all doing? And pets.
Yeah, what are herons? What does that mean, Captain?
A harriet.
Herent.
Harriet.
Oh, are you dog parents?
Maybe that's what it is.
I think so.
I guess pets.
Yeah, I think I've seen his dogs. Him post pictures
Mhm.
in a surrogate.
Yeah, doggos.
Yeah, doggos.
Alrighty, y'all. You think we should wrap it up?
Yeah, I
Yep.
think that's all we got. So, thanks everybody for coming and playing this week.
Yay!
Yes, thank you everybody for being
Thanks
here.
for coming and listening, guys. We appreciate so much.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
All the support.
If you could give us a
Everybody's
like,
always so supportive.
share, subscribe,
Tell your friends.
tell your friends.
Tell your mama.
Hey, and don't eat any tires, okay, people? No tires.
Don't eat what? No
Tires.
tires.
Don't be eating weird shit.
Don't be weird.
No,
shit. See your
yeah,
doctor
don't
if
eat
you feel the need
tires.
to eat weird shit.
No leftist ass either.
That's right.
No leftist.
Hey,
Like it's corn
unless
on
they
the cob.
consent. As
Unless
long as there's
they
consent.
Yeah, we don't have
Unless
the
they consent.
soundboard on this one, do we?
No, we don't. I'd have to, yeah.
America. Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Dee, that means we don't have the one where you were singing about Hunter's Hog always being
Oh,
on your mind.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh.
We need to steal the soundboard just for that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We are hoping to put in like a Q&A at the end of each show. So if you guys want to think about questions throughout the week, man, we want to hear
And
from
we're
you.
working on like becoming legit, like with like domains and
Like
like
an
social
email.
media.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. We're legit.
Yeah. Too legit to quit. Hey, hey.
Alrighty, everybody. We will see you
All right,
next
friends.
Thank
Bye.
you for
Good night,
being here.
everybody.
Have a good one.
Happy Pride.
week. Bye. Happy Pride. Where's the heart? There.